Jason ran through the thick alien forest, his arm bleeding, his heart racing. Smoke filled the sky behind him. His ship had been attacked. His team was dead. He was alone, lost on a strange planet with red trees and glowing plants. He stopped to catch his breath near a large stone wall covered in symbols he couldn't read. Just then, he heard something. Screams. Not human. He moved slowly toward the sound, hiding behind the thick roots of a tree. In the clearing, he saw them, 3 robot soldiers surrounding someone. It was a girl. Not human, but close. Her skin had a silver glow, her hair like blue fire. She held a small knife, trying to fight, but she was weak. The robots closed in. Jason looked around. No one else was there. On the ground, near her, something glowed. A strange sword, long, sharp, and beautiful, with golden lines and a crystal in the hilt. It seemed to call to him. Jason didn't think. He ran forward, grabbed the sword, and felt a shock, like fire in his blood. But he held on. The sword lit up with energy. The robots turned to attack him. Jason swung the sword. It moved like it knew what he wanted. One robot fell. Then the second. The third tried to run, but Jason didn't let it. When the fight ended, the girl stared at him wide-eyed. "You touched the sword," she said in a soft voice. Jason nodded, still breathing hard. "I had to help you." She didn't smile. She looked almost scared. Other aliens appeared, her people running from nearby. They saw Jason holding the sword. They stopped in shock. An old alien, wearing robes, stepped forward and whispered something in their language. Then he looked at Jason and said in broken English, You have claimed her." Jason blinked. "What?" The girl looked down, her face red with emotion. "That sword, it belongs to me, chooses only one. If another touches it, he becomes my mate." Jason dropped the sword like it was burning him. "I didn't know," he said. "I just wanted to help." The old man shook his head. "Too late. The sword has accepted you. Now you are part of the bond." Jason looked around. All eyes were on him. He felt like he had broken a rule, a big one. The girl walked toward him. She picked up the sword and handed it back to him. "Now you must protect me," she said quietly, "or our honor is lost." Jason looked at her. The strange girl, the sacred sword, the watching clan. He had no idea what he had just done. But one thing was clear. His life would never be the same again. Jason stood frozen, still gripping the sword. It pulsed faintly in his hands, warm and alive, almost like it had chosen him for something bigger than he understood. All around him, the aliens whispered in their own language. Their silver eyes glanced at him, some full of wonder, some full of anger. Xeno, the girl he had saved, didn't look at him. Her face was hard to read, somewhere between fear and pride. She turned and began walking toward a path that led deeper into the forest. Jason hesitated. The elder in the long robe pointed after her. "You must follow. She cannot walk alone now. Not after the bond." Jason didn't like the sound of that word, bond. Still, he followed. The path led to a large stone building, shaped like a half-circle, with glowing blue lines running across its walls. Inside, dozens of aliens sat around a fire that burned without smoke. When Jason stepped in behind Xeno, silence fell again. She sat down across from the elder. Jason stood awkwardly beside her. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to touch something sacred." Xeno looked up. Her voice was calm, but cold. "You didn't just touch a sword. You touched a part of me." Jason took a step back, unsure of what she meant. The elder stood. "In our culture, the sword chooses. It is given only when 2 lives are meant to join. You saved her. That is brave." But the sword would not glow for just bravery. It saw something else. Jason shook his head. "I don't even know you. I didn't come here to marry someone. I was just trying to survive." "Intent does not matter now," the elder said. "Tradition is law." Xeno stared into the fire. "I don't want to be bonded to a human." This is not how I imagined my future. Jason felt like someone had tied a rock to his chest. He didn't want to force anyone into anything. But he also didn't want to offend the people who just saved him, or worse, get himself killed over a misunderstanding. Is there a way to undo it? He asked. Xeno flinched. Her hand tightened on the sword. To break the bond means exile. Shame. The sword will die. And I will be nothing. Jason felt the room grow colder. Everyone watched her, then him. He realized that, for them, this wasn't just a mistake. It was a turning point in her life. And now, in his, he didn't say anything else that night. They gave him a small room in the back. It had no bed, just soft moss on the floor and a bowl of glowing water. He lay there, staring at the ceiling. What had he done? In the early morning, someone knocked. It was Xeno. She stood at the door, eyes tired but steady. You wanted to break the bond, she said. Jason opened his mouth to explain, but she raised her hand. If we're stuck in this, you will learn our ways. You will train. You will prove you are worthy of the sword, and of standing beside me. Jason stood slowly. All right, he said. Teach me. Xeno nodded once, sharp and fast. And just like that, the bond they both didn't want began to take shape. In the shadows outside, a metal eye blinked, recording everything. The enemy had found him. And this time, they weren't coming for the sword. They were coming for the girl. Jason woke before the sun. If this planet even had a sun. The sky outside his window was purple, scattered with 3 pale moons and clouds that drifted too slow, like they were watching. His muscles ached from yesterday's fight. His mind ached more. He remembered the sword, Xeno's voice, the whispers, the look in her eyes when she said, "You touched a part of me." He didn't ask for any of this, but he didn't regret saving her either. He stepped outside, where the village was already awake. Silver-skinned aliens moved silently, carrying baskets of strange glowing fruit, cleaning weapons, tending to bird-like animals that didn't blink. Xeno waited near the training circle. She didn't smile. She never did. You came, she said. Jason nodded. You asked me to learn. No, she said, holding out a long staff. I asked you to prove you deserve the sword. Jason sighed. You could just say thank you for saving your life. Xeno's eyes narrowed. I didn't ask for that either. Before he could respond, she struck at him. Hard. He blocked with his arm, stumbled back, and barely caught the staff she tossed at him. Rule 1, she said. Never speak like a victim. You're bonded now. You fight or you fall. The training began fast, brutal, without mercy. Jason had trained in human military academies, but nothing prepared him for her speed, or the way she moved like wind and lightning combined. He failed. Again and again. By noon, he lay in the dirt, panting. Xeno offered no hand. Only this, again tomorrow. She walked away, but just before she turned the corner, she paused. You held the sword like it belonged to you, she said quietly. If it was a mistake, the sword would have burned you. It didn't. That night, Jason sat alone, staring at the sword resting on the stone table beside him. It didn't glow now, just metal and silence. Why me? He asked. The sword didn't answer, but he noticed something carved on its hilt, faint in old script. He traced it with his finger. As he did, the crystal inside pulsed once. Then he heard it, a soft clicking sound. Not from the sword. From outside. Jason moved to the window and saw something in the trees. Metal. Small. Watching. A red light blinked once, then vanished. The next moment, a deep horn blasted across the village. Tech. Screams. Footsteps. Warriors running. Blades lighting up. Jason grabbed the sword and ran outside. The sky turned red. Fire. He saw the same machines that had attacked Xeno earlier, robot soldiers, but this time more. Dozens. They were moving fast, heading straight toward the central hall. Xeno was already there, twin daggers in hand, her face calm but fierce. Jason ran to her side. You're not trained, she said. I don't care. You'll die. He looked at her, serious. Then I'll die beside you. She said nothing. But this time she didn't stop him. The robots charged. Jason held the sword tightly, pulsed again. As the first enemy reached him, the sword lit up, just like before, golden light, sharp and fast. He moved. He struck. He protected. And somewhere in the chaos, the thought hit him hard. He wasn't just protecting Vena. He wanted to, not because of duty, but because of her. The smoke from the attack still hung in the air the next morning. Half the village was in ruins. Some buildings were gone, turned to ash. 2 warriors were dead. One of them had taught Vena how to fight when she was a child. She didn't cry. Jason didn't ask if she was okay. They both just stood there, in silence, watching the broken pieces of a home that used to feel safe. Neither of them said it out loud, but they knew the truth. This was just the beginning. The enemy had found them. Jason followed Vena to the edge of the forest, where the village leaders were gathered. The elder stood near a flat stone table with glowing maps carved into it. When Jason approached, a few warriors stepped in front of him. "He is not one of us," one said. "He carries the sword," Vena replied, her voice calm but sharp. "He fights beside me. That is enough." The warriors moved aside, though not without a glare. Jason stood beside Vena, looking down at the glowing map. It showed a mountain range, deep in the northern region. "There is something hidden there," the elder said. "Something your sword can unlock." Jason frowned. "Unlock? Like a door?" The elder nodded. "Like a ship." Vena turned toward Jason. "My parents were guardians of an ancient vessel buried beneath the mountain. It's not just a warship. It's a relic, alive in a way, and the sword is the key." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because the bond wasn't complete," Vena said. "The ship only answers to 2, a sword-bearer and a soul-linked protector." Jason stared at her. "You mean us?" She didn't look away. "Yes." There was no time for more questions. They prepared to leave that same night. They traveled light, fast, silent. The journey took 2 days through cold mist and glowing rivers. Along the way, Vena spoke little. But Jason noticed how she kept glancing back, checking for danger. She trusted him more now, but not completely. On the second night, they made camp near a ridge. Jason sat close to the fire while Vena stood alone, watching the stars. "You still don't want this bond, do you?" Jason asked. Vena was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I was raised to choose my path, to choose who stands beside me. Now that choice is gone." Jason looked at the fire. "You think I chose this?" "I think you had a choice. You picked up the sword. You changed everything." Jason didn't argue, because she was right. But before the silence could grow heavier, the ground beneath them rumbled. It was no storm. It was something alive. The next morning they reached the mountain, and there it was, half buried in stone, covered in vines and age, the ancient ship. It looked like a beast sleeping beneath the rock, waiting to wake. The door was shaped like the same mark on Jason's sword. As he walked closer, the crystal on the hilt began to glow again, brighter than ever before. But just before he could touch the door, Vena stepped in front of him. "Wait," she whispered. "We're not alone." From the shadows, a figure stepped out. It was a man from her own clan, and he pointed a weapon at her heart. "You shouldn't have brought the human," the traitor said. Jason's hand went to his sword. The traitor smiled. "Put it down," he said, "or she dies. The enemy made me a better offer. And you were never supposed to survive." Jason didn't move, but the sword in his hand began to burn. It had sensed betrayal, and it was ready to answer. Jason's grip tightened around the sword. His heart pounded not out of fear but fury. The man before them, dressed in the armor of Vena's clan, held a weapon pointed at her chest. He didn't tremble. He didn't blink. His eyes were cold. "I trained beside you," Vena said, her voice calm but sharp. "You swore to protect the relic. What did they offer you?" The man smiled. "Freedom, power, and no human holding our future in his hands." Jason stepped forward. The man didn't hesitate. He fired. Vena moved faster than Jason had ever seen. The blast grazed her arm, but she rolled, flipped, and kicked the gun from the traitor's hand. Jason rushed in, sword raised. But the traitor was strong, trained, prepared. They fought in front of the ancient ship's entrance, clashing, dodging, striking. The traitor used every trick of the clan's combat style. Jason wasn't fast enough, not skilled enough, until the sword began to glow again. It moved with him, guided him. He didn't think. He trusted it. A sudden spin, a perfect block, then a strike. The traitor hit the ground, bleeding, still breathing but defeated. Vena stood over him, her arm burning with pain. She looked down at the man who betrayed her and didn't speak. Jason did. You would have let them kill her. For what? Pride. The traitor laughed weakly. You think she's yours? You think a sword makes you worthy of her? Jason didn't answer. Vena turned away. Leave him. The sword has already judged him. Jason helped her to her feet, and they stepped toward the ship again. As he raised the sword toward the carved entrance, the crystal hummed louder. Then, the stone cracked, shifted, and opened like a heartbeat. Inside was not darkness, but light. 1,000 blue lines pulsed on the walls, like veins in a sleeping beast. The floor was smooth and silver, reflecting their steps. The air smelled of metal and memory. It's alive, Jason said. Vena nodded. It's not just a ship, it's a soul. One that's been waiting for a bonded pair. A voice echoed through the chamber. Not male or female, just vast. Swordbearer, protector, you are incomplete. The bond is not sealed. Jason looked at Vena. What does that mean? Vena's face softened, just slightly. It means we fight together, but not from the same place. Jason hesitated. You still don't trust me. It's not about trust, she said. It's about truth. I spent my whole life believing this bond would be a choice. You took that from me, even if you meant well. He lowered the sword slowly. Then let me earn it. She looked into his eyes truly, for the first time, and something shifted. The ship responded. A wave of light ran through the walls. The ground shook. The traitor outside screamed, then vanished in a flash of white energy. The ship had rejected him. Inside, the control room opened. A single chair, surrounded by floating rings of symbols, awaited. Jason stepped toward it, but the voice returned. Only the chosen may command. Only together may you rise. Vena reached out. Her hand touched his. The sword lifted on its own, hovering between them. The light grew stronger, surrounding them both in a soft glow. Their heartbeats synced. Their breath slowed. And for the first time, the bond didn't feel like a mistake. It felt right. A soft light wrapped around their joined hands. Not just the sword's power, but something deeper. Then the ship spoke again. Bond accepted. Pilot activated. Guardian confirmed. Suddenly, holograms lit the room, maps, star systems, warnings. Dozens of red markers. Jason stepped back. They're coming. Vena's expression hardened again. Then we stopped running. The ship began to hum, waking from its long sleep. Above the mountain, thunder rolled. Not from clouds, but from the engines of something ancient and powerful rising once again. The ship rose from the mountain like a creature waking after centuries. The rocks cracked and slid away, trees shook, and the wind itself bent around the force of it. Villagers far below dropped to their knees, watching their sacred relic lift into the clouds. Inside the cockpit, Jason and Vena stood in silence. Neither spoke. Their hands were still lightly touching, and the sword hovered between them like a living bridge. The air shimmered with quiet energy. All around them, the ship pulsed with light and memory. Jason watched the red markers on the glowing map spiral inward. Enemy ships, hundreds of them. They're planning a full invasion, he said. Vena nodded. They're coming for the relic. For me. And now, for you. Jason turned to her. Then we hit them first. The ship responded immediately, as if hearing his intention. Panels opened. Weapons extended. The engines roared louder. But the ship did not move yet. "It needs more than power," Vena said softly. "It needs balance. Our bond must be whole." Jason stared at her. "I thought it was. We activated the ship." "No," she said. "We connected. But we're still standing apart. I keep holding back. You keep pretending it doesn't hurt." Her words hit him like a strike. He took a slow breath. "You're right. I've been walking on eggshells since the day I touched that sword. Afraid of pushing too far. Of taking something from you." Vena's eyes shimmered. Not tears, but something older. Regret. Maybe even guilt. "I thought you stole my future," she said. "But I never asked what you lost. You didn't choose to crash here. You didn't choose this war. And now you're being asked to fight it." Jason gave a small, tired smile. "I don't need to be chosen. I just need to know someone would still choose me." She stepped closer. Close enough that he could feel her warmth. "I do." The words were quiet, but the moment she said them, the sword between them glowed so bright it blinded them both. The ship's lights surged. The controls locked into place. The cockpit reformed around them like armor sliding into position. The bond was complete. Outside, the enemy ships broke through the clouds, sleek, dark, and deadly. Dozens of them, lighting the sky like a swarm of black stars. Vena sat at the co-pilot's position, her hands resting on glowing pads. "They'll expect us to run." Jason smirked and took the pilot's seat. "Let's disappoint them." The ship shot forward, faster than light. Every movement smooth, every weapon synced with their thoughts. The ship didn't fly, it hunted. Jason wove through enemy lines like he'd flown it for years. Vena controlled the shields, the energy cores, the pulse cannons. Together, they were unstoppable. Enemy ships exploded one by one. The sky became a storm of fire and fury. But the real danger was still ahead. A massive war carrier, 10 times larger than the others, began to descend from orbit. Its shadow covered the sky, and inside it, watching through a dark screen, was the enemy general. The same one who once tried to claim Vena for himself. He watched the glowing ship tear through his fleet. His voice echoed through the war carrier's chambers. "Find the human. Kill the girl. Bring me the sword." Jason saw the carrier on the map. He felt the pressure. The weight of lives, of expectations, of something bigger than destiny. But then he looked at Vena. Not a stranger. Not just a bondmate. His partner. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The ship aimed at the war carrier. The sword glowed brighter than ever. And together they charged straight into the heart of the storm. The war carrier filled the sky like a false moon, casting a heavy shadow over the land below. Its weapons bristled, charged, and aimed at the ancient ship rising to meet it. Inside, Jason and Vena sat side by side, the sword now resting between them, glowing with a steady light. No longer wild or chaotic, but calm, certain. The silence before battle was almost louder than the noise that followed. Then the enemy fired. A wall of plasma cannons lit the sky, streaking toward them like burning comets. Jason's hands moved without thinking. Vena's focus sharpened to a point. Shields rose just in time, bending the blasts away, rippling like water struck by stone. The ship didn't shake. It danced. They dove under the main carrier, sliding past its underbelly, targeting its weak points. Their ship responded like it was part of them, no delay, no resistance. Jason flew, Vena fired. Explosions rocked the air. Smaller enemy ships scrambled to intercept but were torn apart before they got close. Inside the enemy command center, the general watched with rising fury. His face, once calm, now twisted with rage. His voice boomed across the ship. "Bring them to me. I want to kill the human with my own hands." But Jason was already coming for him. He and Vena cut through the last line of defense and entered the carrier's docking bay, landing with precision. The ancient ship sealed itself behind them. This time, they didn't bring an army, just each other. They stepped into the dark steel halls of the war carrier. Jason with the sword, Vena with her twin daggers. Together they moved like one. Soldiers rushed them from all sides, but the bond was no longer just spiritual. It was real, earned, tested through fire. Every strike they made was matched, protected, answered. And then, finally, they reached the core chamber. The general waited. He was tall, armored, and monstrous. Part machine, part flesh, and all hate. His red eyes locked on Jason. "You stole what was mine," he growled. Jason didn't flinch. "You never had her." The general lunged, his blade crackling with black energy. Jason met him head-on. The clash shook the chamber. The battle was brutal, fast. The general was stronger, more experienced. But Jason was no longer alone. Every time he faltered, Xeno struck. Every time the general pushed forward, she blocked, giving Jason a chance to breathe, to move, to survive. And when the moment came, when the general lifted his blade high to strike Xeno down, Jason stepped in front of her. The sword caught the blow. It shattered the enemy's weapon in a flash of golden light. Jason looked into the general's eyes, steady and clear. "You lost the moment you saw her as something to own." And with one final strike, he ended it. The general fell. Silence followed. Xeno stood beside Jason, breathing hard. "It's over," she said. Jason shook his head. "No. It's beginning." They left the carrier as it collapsed behind them. Their ship lifted them into the sky once more. The enemy fleet had no leader now, no direction. One by one, they fell back, scattered, broken. Down below, the clans watched the sky clear for the first time in days. Jason and Xeno returned to the village. They were not greeted with fear or silence this time, but with cheers. Not just because they had won, but because they had become something together that no one expected. Xeno stood before her people, blade in hand, and said, "The sword chose him. I did not understand it at first. But now I know the sword doesn't just see strength. It sees the heart." She turned to Jason, and his was always open. Jason didn't speak. He only looked at her, quiet and steady. There were no more doubts between them now. That night, as the stars returned to the sky and the last fires burned out, they stood on the edge of the village together, watching the future open in front of them. "I still don't understand your people's traditions," Jason said softly. Xeno smiled. Not the guarded smile of before, but something real. "Neither do I. Maybe we make new ones." The sword rested between them once again. But this time, neither of them held it. Because they no longer needed a weapon to stay connected. They had each other. And that was enough.